Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Deborah Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and creator of the Deb Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. Every Sunday night, I lead the Goal Chat Twitter chat, and then on Mondays, I bring in 3 awesome people to dive deep into the topic. And then on Thursday, it magically becomes an episode of the Deb Show podcast. So whether you're watching live or the replay or listening, we are glad you're here and so excited because today we're going to talk about creativity. And I love this topic. Okay, I love all the topics. I love all my guests. We know this, but it's especially now we need to find ways to express ourselves creatively and have more fun. So today I brought together some of, shall we say, the most creative people I know to dive deep into creativity. I have Erin Brown, and I'm going to let her explain more about what a hot red carpet is. But let's just say we met on a Clubhouse and we're like instantly, we have to be friends because we did. Also, we have Lowry Olafson, who came via our friend Annie P. Ruggles, because when I was a guest on Annie's show talking about Alan McBeal and theme songs and mottos, she said, do you know Lowry? Because he writes theme songs for people. And I'm like, no, but I kind of have to now, don't I? Yes, you do. So Lowry, great to have you here. And Lisa Rothstein. And Lisa and Erin, I don't know if you both know this, but you are both Innovation Women members. And I've known Lisa for years from my time with Social Media Examiner and working social media marketing world. And you were both on the Innovation Women Clubhouse. And Lisa, I saw you in the Innovation newsletter. And I'm like, I haven't talked to Lisa in years. We need to reconnect. And when I have the topic, I mean, you can't have a creativity thing without a cartoonist who's a visual storyteller, can you? Well, maybe you can, but I don't want to. So I love this group of people. I'm going to give you all an opportunity to share a little bit more about who you are and why you love creativity. And Erin, let's start with you.
Excellent. Thanks for having me here today, Deb. The Deb. I'm really excited to be here. And Lisa, I love that you're an Innovation Woman. So my name is Erin Brown, and my company is called Hot Red Carpet. I help people step into their own spotlight. I do this in 2 ways. I MC live events, both in person and virtually. Virtually, I did a lot of team bonding events. I hosted a game show for companies called Survey Says, which is basically a virtual version of Family Feud, which was a lot of fun. And then I also help people with their confidence skills. So I'm a confidence coach because, this kind of all evolved during the pandemic when everybody had to be on video, whether they want it to be or not. And before I did all this kind of stuff, I have 20 years of comedy experience. So I was in the showbiz world doing improv, stand-up, sketch, writing, you name it. I still dabble in that world. But why I call it Hot Red Carpet, because you're probably like, what the heck does that even mean? I
know, but they don't.
I have a web series, or it was called Hot on the Red Carpet, and it all started out a million years ago as a one-time thing, a joke, where when I first came to LA from New York City, I was enthralled by the amount of award shows and the red carpets that were everywhere, and I thought it was a bit ridiculous. So I bought my own red carpet, which was basically a red bath mat, and I went to Hollywood Boulevard and started interviewing regular people, like as if they were going to the Oscars. And it was like, who are you wearing? Are you nervous? And it took off. And ironically, I started covering events and getting actual A-list stars on my tiny red carpet. So that has evolved into a business of its own. And I do private events with that red carpet.
That is so much fun. And what you may not know is, so my whole thing with the gold stars is back when I led my live writer support group, somebody once said, hey, Deb, where are my gold stars? They were kidding. I thought it was a great idea. And so I started bringing stars whenever I would lead these meetings or workshops on goal setting. So things that start just for fun, they can evolve into like enormous parts of our brand. And that is just really awesome. So I'm glad you're here. Looking forward to chatting with you some more. I am going to invite Lowry now to introduce himself. And this is the first time we've met. We connected because Annie said we needed to, right? But I love what you do. So please tell everybody so they know also.
Okay, well, yeah, my name is Lowry Olafson. I live up in British Columbia, right on the ocean, a little town. You have to take a ferry to get to where I live. And I've been a songwriter, singer-songwriter all my life. So that was always my thing, was to be a folk singer and to tour and put out my own albums and do that. And somewhere along the line, I started getting asked, first with kids, I started getting asked to talk to kids about songwriting and stuff in some of the towns I go in to do concerts. And so I thought, well, instead of just talking about it, why don't I just write a song with the kids and give them that experience? And it was pretty fun. I think the first song I wrote was called I Slept In, with a bunch of high school kids, and then that kind of, what was sad about it in those days, this was quite a while ago, all we could do was record it on a cassette. The kids there was no way to perform the song for anybody, that kind of stuff. And so then I ended up developing an entire program where I did a concert after lunch, and I had to turn into a kids performer. And I did a lot of those. I created a program called From the Page to the Stage in one day, which nearly killed me. It was, pretty challenging to have to, deliver a song and finish song in 2.5 hours with 35 kids and then do a show and, all that stuff. But what I realized in the process, and I did over 500 of those, and in the process, what I realized was that, we are creating this, you talk about creativity and this experience of group flow that we would get into that was highly creative, and it was very safe, and it was with the deadline and all this stuff. And it was a really powerful process for people to be creative and to rediscover their creativity and be supported in that. And so then I did it later on. I started doing it as a team building, or as Erin called it, team bonding exercise with organizations. And it was also really powerful because people would come in really doubting their own skills and, kind of grumpy and saying, well, I shouldn't be here. I don't, I have nothing to say and I have nothing to contribute and I can't sing. And then by the end of it all, we would have just, they'd be just ecstatic because we had done this thing together. And it's always, this sense, I think, of creativity that I feel as a songwriter all the time whenever I kind of wrestle a song to the ground and it's done and it's my words. And so, and then I started writing power songs after I'd gone through a divorce and I was kind of trying to find my way again and figure out what I wanted to do with my life and kind of goal setting. Power songs are really kind of a goal setting tool. And I wanted to do, somebody said, why don't you do affirmations? And I said, well, they seem to have limited value because, you say I'm a millionaire and it's like, no, you're not. And so they create these arguments in your head and stuff. But she said, well, why don't you write a song? And so I wrote this song that goes, I got a house on the water and someone to love. I laugh and sing and work and play. I'm living in the flow, helping people grow. Joy and adventure every day. And it seemed unlikely that I was going to have a house on the ocean. But, a year later, I was building a house on the ocean and all this stuff kind of happened that was like hard to believe. And so then, people started asking me for power songs and they wanted to write power songs too. And so I've written, I don't know, 50 or 60 power songs now with people all over the place, in the process of kind of getting clear about what you want and then having a tool that lifts you out of that sort of, I'm depressed. I'm depressed. Kind of this kind of physiological change that occurs with music, when you sing, whether you sing well or not. So, so that's power songs, and that's what I do, and I love it.
That is awesome. And I'm so excited because that's exactly what it is. I talk about, you've got your mission and then your motto, that's the driving force. And it could be a theme song, it could be a title, it could be whatever. But when you have that thing that invigorates you, that
Yeah.
really is your guiding force.
Yeah.
Amazing. Lisa, great to see you.
You too. You too. It's fantastic to be here. I love the PowerSongs, Lowry. I'm going to learn a little bit more about that. That sounds great.
Thanks.
Because we all have these things like kind of running in our heads all the time, regardless. Like I did a lot of, and it kind of leads right into my action. Like Erin, I have previous life. I am a cartoonist now, and I do consulting and other things. But for over 20 years, I was in the advertising business as a copywriter and an associate creative director. So if anybody here is old enough to remember, wait till we get our hands on you for Hanes underwear. That was me. So I like to say I changed your underwear because we completely changed the brand perception, and that campaign did very well for many years. And you know, I've always loved cartooning since I was a little kid. And but you know, having been raised by parents who grew up during the Depression, they literally said to me almost every day, "You're going to be out on the street selling pencils. You're going to be out on the street selling pencils." If I tried to do anything like artistic as work, so that's how I ended up in the ad business, which I loved. But you know, after I was overseas for a while with my job, and then after I came back to the States, I was freelancing, and little by little, I began to notice I was doing more drawing with my clients to help them understand who their ideal client was, and we were drawing pictures all over the wall, and they're like, you're really good at this. You should be doing more of this. And like my clients were telling me they needed me to be doing more drawing and more cartooning to help tell stories and help them understand and see a vision of what their business could be, see a vision of what their customers could be. And then one day I had a lady at eWomen Network, saw me drawing my own notes. I've always drawn pictures on my notes, not just doodles, but just like instead of writing them. And she said, "Oh, I've seen people doing that on these big boards at like South by Southwest. I need you to come. I'm having a 3-day event. I need you to do this at my event." And I'm like, I've never done this in front of a bunch of people before. It's like a whole industry. It's not what I do. And she said, "Oh, you'll be great. Don't worry about it." And she talked into it. And I said, "Well, okay, this may be a complete disaster. So don't, just pay my expenses and then we'll see what happens." But 3 days later, at 15 speakers, and the board that I drew ended up being like 20 feet wide. It ended up being a really, really fun experience. And it turns out I'm pretty good at it. So now I do capture meetings and things. I'm going to try to show you this on my camera. This is from a recent social media marketing world that we just ended. Let me get myself out of the way a little bit so you can see more. Which is basically, this is the opening keynote speech, and I did about 20 of these in the course of the 3 days of the event. So that's pretty. I was pretty excited about that, and it really helps people remember what they've learned and be able to refer to it later, because studies show that most people forget most of what they've heard after 24 hours. 75% of it is gone, and after 3 days, like 90% of it is gone. All these things you thought you were going to remember forever. So my mission, I feel like, is to help people, retain knowledge, remember things, understand each other better, and be able to smile a little bit about that. And so, as Deborah mentioned, I think before we came on, one of my bucket list things is that I a few years ago joined the ranks of New Yorker cartoonists, which is like the Super Bowl of cartooning. So I'm very excited about that. So you can't really see it very well, but this is a cartoon that I did last year, and of course the promotional thing popped up while I was waiting here. Make that go away. But this is when we thought the pandemic was only going to last like a couple of months, and so this is a picture of hell, and the devil is saying to his little assistant, "It's new. We place them in an endless video conference with everyone they couldn't stand in life." So I try to make it so that people will laugh at a sad situation or an unhappy situation, and that's part of my reason for being. So I still write copy, and I still draw pictures, and now I work with a lot of brands that are technology, cybersecurity, things that are hard to explain, and that need to be explained from people who are very technical to people who are not, in a way that they'll listen to and understand and enjoy and remember and do. Lisa should have a better LinkedIn profile so she can connect with the people who actually sell pencils. Wow, what's wrong with my LinkedIn profile, Eugene? But it's true. Maybe I should get a pencil sponsor. That would be awesome. Blackwings are my favorite. Although I do most on my iPad right now, so the pencil I use mostly is my Apple Pencil now. So that's me. So people who need stories told, whether inside or outside a company, will come to me for both words and pictures to help them get their point across to the people who they need buy-in from, and it's really exciting.
Cool. And if you're listening or watching, you see why I brought these people together. Mm-hmm. They've all basically taken the thing that they love and kind of followed the road to something they love even more. And I think that's a huge part of creativity, is just following that, whether it's a yellow brick road or rose-colored or
red
unicorn.
Carpet. I followed a red carpet.
Yeah, I like your red carpet.
I was getting there, but yes, of course. What I was trying to say is following the unicorn down the red carpet to the life that they want, but I kind of, it got lost somewhere between, my brain and the words coming out. But the point is, whether you're traditionally creative like my guests, or you just are creative. I mean, we all have that creative bone in our body. And the pandemic is a really good example. I mean, we had to be creative for 2 years of how we did things, how we shopped, how we interacted. And whether if you are watching live or the replay, or even if you're listening, I would love to know what creative things that you discovered over the last couple of years, what path you went down that allowed you to explode your creativity and turn it into action. And this is, I think you all answered this question about how you express your creativity. But so in doing the things that you're not doing when you're doing the things that you love, what other ways do you express your creativity? Do you see how I made that relevant, friends?
Can you repeat the question?
I don't think I can.
Creative. So I think I understand. I'll take a stab at it. So instead of like doing what we do professionally, or for me, drumming. I have a djembe drum, which I freaking love, and it started a few years ago. My good friend Curtis Bird, if you're watching, he's an incredible drummer. He and a yoga instructor started this class, which is not happening anymore, unfortunately, but it was called Yoga Beats. And it was part yoga, part drumming, part meditation. And I loved it. I got addicted to it. I asked for a drum set when I was 6. My parents got me like a fake one in first grade. I had a band. My dad and my mom were my bandmates, potato salad and coleslaw. I mean, we went really far.
Wait, potato salad and coleslaw?
I think my dad was like having lunch. I'm like, well, what's your name? I'm the boss. What's your name? And he's like, I'm potato salad. Yeah. Anyway, that was when I was 6.5. So like 15 years ago. So anyway, the drumming, it was just, I loved it so much, and it's just all about rhythm. And the one thing there's many things I love about it, but it was such a way to express myself. And because I'm such a creative person, there was no attachment to it. It was just free and fun. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to put this in a sketch, or I'm going to write a show about this, or I'm going to try to like make a video. It was just like, nope, like I'm just going to get up and I'm going to bang on my drum. And like Lowry, what you were talking about, some of your power songs, we've done like affirmations, affirmative drumming, like I am beautiful. I am whatever, and which is great, and it's the rhythmic drumming, and it's just good for your heart. And so yeah, it's that is one of my favorite creative activities to do. That just I have no expectations. It's just something to do for my soul.
I just had those flashbacks. So this guy I dated, we were in our 20s, so back when I lived in Chicago, but he kept drumsticks in the little pocket in his car door. So whenever he got bored in traffic, that's what he would do. So it's the same thing, is what is something that you do that doesn't, it's got a purpose, but it doesn't tie into your other creative purposes, which is amazing. This is why we need creativity above and beyond, the creative pursuits. Lowry, so
this is a hard question for me because I'm so kind of work focused that, my creative stuff. I mean, I love writing songs. I love music. I love, recording, producing, all that kind of stuff. I guess for me, it's kind of my space that I have, and we're continuing to develop this house that we built this house, and it's kind of always evolving and changing, and now we're building rock walls down on the waterfront and stuff like that, and just kind of creating this beautiful space, which is quite organic, as it goes. Yeah. So, maybe that's my creative outlet.
that totally counts. I love
That
it.
counts. Okay.
Yes, you get a gold star.
Okay. Good.
Perfect.
Where is it? I don't see it anywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your gold star is right here waiting for you.
Oh, I have to come to California.
You have to come to California to get it. Enjoy. Yes.
I like that.
So Lisa, what about you?
Oh no, she
Hey,
froze.
Lisa.
She's frozen. Like, we have to.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm trying to unmute. Yeah, so I had to think of a few different things. I sing in a choir, so that's always a lot of fun, and I love music and I love singing, but my favorite part about that is I don't sing solos. I like to be in the choir. I like to be a voice in getting lost in the group, and so that's why I like to sing altos or somewhere, something in the middle, not on the top. I can sing soprano, but I don't prefer it, because when you're sort of in the middle of the chord, you kind of just kind of zone out and become one with the whole group. And I love singing harmony. But the other thing that I do pretty much every day is cook. And I think a lot of people consider that a chore at the end of the day, but I just love, doing something with my hands, standing there and getting covered in grease and smelling like onions and all that stuff, because it just feels like a different modality than what I've been sitting at my desk all day. Plus that big glass of wine you get as a chef, while you're cooking, doesn't hurt. I lived in Paris for about 12 years, and I learned a lot about not haute cuisine, but just kind of like how to throw something in a pan and turn it into something without really a recipe. And my husband appreciates it because it's this or frozen like Marie Callender. So I'm a step up from what he was eating before we got married. And so I always have a very appreciative audience for my cooking performances. So
I love that. And when we did the gold chat last night, that was my answer to what you do for creativity beyond work, because it's the thing that I love about it is you can't be connected and cook. I mean, you can listen to music if you want, right? Or have some sort of other audio, whatever, but you cannot be tied to your computer or other electronic devices. And for me, that's it's freeing. So it's not just the element, right?
Yeah, and to me, the most creative thing about cooking that I like is when I don't have the ingredients that I want, or I just have to throw something together with what's in the house. My husband calls me MacGyver of the kitchen. It's like I can take really, really scrounging around like a can of garbanzo beans and a few other really unrelated things, and make it a pretty good meal out of it. And by substituting pretty much everything that would normally be in the original recipe, if there ever was a recipe. So it's nice to have all the things on hand, but usually I don't. I'm usually missing at least something that I have to figure out how to do without this main ingredient. So it's always a fun puzzle to see what I can whip up without on the bare minimum of stuff.
See, I would love to see you on Cutthroat Kitchen or something, because you would probably blow everybody away with that skill set.
Yeah, actually, there was a show. I think they had one here. I think they had it here in the States. But when I lived in Europe, there was a show called Ready Steady Cook that I absolutely loved. That was like a two. They had like it's way low tech compared to the cooking shows you see on TV now. But they had two like little kitchens on the stage, and they all had like staples like eggs and lemons and things like that. But they picked two people from the audience who had a grocery bag, and they couldn't spend more than like, I forget, like 6 pounds. This was England. And so there would be a chef on each kitchen and a regular like layperson contestant, and they dumped out the bag, and they never knew what they were going to get. So it's like one person would get a can of lima beans, a banana, and a squid, and somebody else would get, the person on the other side would get, a bag of apples, a pound of ground beef, and two boxes of mushrooms, and they'd have to do something, and then make a whole meal like in 30 minutes, and then the audience would judge who won, and it was fun, and I used to love how inventive they could be with such, not knowing what they were going to be able to work with. So I like to do that in all areas of my life. Like, okay, just set me down with whatever's there, and I'll make something out of it.
It's improv, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's kind of what cartooning is. That's kind of what a cartoonist does. Also, if you're going to be doing gag cartoons, I mean, when I do stuff for the New Yorker, when the things that I submit that are supposed to be for the magazine need to be kind of timeless, because you never know when they're going to run them. But they have something called the daily cartoon that they run every day online. And that is sort of ripped from the headlines, and all the cartoonists who have an idea that morning send in a sketch, and they pick one, and then you have to finish it in like an hour for them to make it, be finished to go onto the website. And so I've won that a couple of times, and it's really fun because you're like, something happens in the news or something, something's happening in life in general, and something strikes you funny, and then you just use what's happening in life and just make something funny of it. That's where that Zoom cartoon came from. And that ran as the daily cartoon.
And that's kind of what Lowry was saying when he was doing songs on the spot in classrooms, right? It's just...
Yeah. Well, you know what? As you're talking about this, the word resourcefulness, comes to mind for me. I think that's why I love creativity so much, because, the idea that no matter how rough things get, wherever we're at, when you're resourceful, to me, that's a quality I really admire in people, that they can just, work with what they've got, and they can really do creative things. And I think that there's, not only is that sort of efficient and effective and stuff, but the thing about creativity that I see is that it is the spark of joy for people. That, like, I look at I like to draw, but I have such a strong inner critic that whenever I go, I'll draw something, and I'll draw my toe or my foot or my hand or, something like that. And while I'm doing it, I kind of have to have this argument with my inner critic. And finally, I write it down, and then I look at it an hour later, and I look at it, and I just think, I just love this. It's just my thumb, and it's somehow you just love it, and I see that when, this sense of kind of, it's such an empowering thing to create something from nothing. And I love, I love cooking too. I love that. And I love cooking, with my girlfriend, and doing that as a team effort. But yeah, just this idea of, I remember somebody that was a social worker, and she talked about how she loved the creativity of that work, because you've got people that have these problems, and then she has certain resources that she can throw at that, and being innovative in how you do that stuff. Like, creativity isn't just by any means limited to the arts. It's problem solving. It's coming up with new ideas, right?
It absolutely is. And I realized I should have asked this question, so I will ask it now. What is creativity? Resourcefulness. I love it. It's joy. Erin, what is it to you?
Yeah, I like what Lowry is saying. It's not just limited to something like you can see and touch. I mean, you can create your day, right? Like, there's like people who are so organized and know, or like manage their time, or just create your freaking life. Yeah. What does it mean to me? I think it's definitely imagination and listening to the little whispers, listening to like my gut, you know, like, and envisioning it. And I remember years ago, I was in a comedy duo. It was my friend Michaela Dietz and I. I'm 5'9". She's as short as I am tall. She was Asian. She sounded like a guy. Like, so we were those girls and we did that dumb show, DUM. And every time we like would be texting, like, oh, I've got this idea for a sketch, one of us would go, oh my God, that's so dumb. It's in. Like, that was our like litmus test. But oh my God, where was I going with that? See, I'm all over the place. Why did I bring that up?
You were talking about inspiration, listening to little whispers.
Oh, because I had this idea. Do you guys remember there was an ad? Lisa, maybe you created it for beef. It was like that famous song. It would be like beef. What's for dinner?
Oh, yeah.
It's what's for dinner. Oh,
Yeah.
they used Aaron Copland's rodeo.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a whole thing in my head of like lunch meat. It's what's for dinner. And so I had that idea forever, which is so dumb. And then she walked in my life. I'm like, we're going to make this video. And we did it. And I lived in a trailer park in the Palisades at the time. And we just bought all this freaking lunch meat and it was ridiculous. So yeah, I think it's so much is to do with your imagination and running with your imagination and just trusting it and having fun with it. And like that critic that shows up, hey, feed it a cracker. Thanks for coming. You can sit in the back right now. We love you, but we're gonna keep on trucking. And you know, the best is like when you're just in the zone too, and it's not for anything, at least for me. Yeah, but it's so just following your imagination.
Well, when you sit down to like brainstorm or create or whatever, and then you're like, I'm hungry. Why am I hungry? Oh, it's 6 hours later, right? Because you just are so absolutely. I love
That's
it when
flow.
that happens.
Yeah, me too. My answer to that question is somewhere between what Erin and Lowry already said. I love the resourcefulness. I love like my big question for creativity is what else could this be? How else could you do this? Like in the ad business, it was always like that. You come up with an idea that you think is amazing. And I had a boss, Frank DeVito, and he's always saying, what else you got? What else you got? No matter how many good ideas, like, what is it that wasn't good enough? What else you got? He was always asking us for more. And you know, when you push yourself to continue thinking, well, what else could this be? How else could this work? What else could happen in this story? You know, you'll find something. You may find something, or you may find out that your first idea was the best, and that was like a spark of inspiration, whatever. But I've always found that if you keep working, you keep asking those questions, you'll find some things that might be way better than what you originally thought, even if you thought the first thing was amazing. And one of the things that I've gotten into recently is I recently got certified in design sprints. And if you don't know what that is, it's nothing to do with like graphic design. It has to do with solving problems and designing solutions for things. You'll see that it comes out of Google, but it can work in any kind of company or any kind of problem or any kind of product, where you always ask, it's HMW, how might we solve this problem? How might we create solar panels that don't, that are small, that can fit on top of a car? How might we, make something, that works a certain way, that solves a certain problem? And then everybody works together, but they work alone. And instead of brainstorming in the old-fashioned way that I love, because I'm a big talker, but the introverts don't really do very well in those. Everybody works on their own thing, with like a stack of Post-it notes, and then puts up their Post-it notes, and then nobody's influencing anybody else. Then you get way more ideas, and you get to it's interesting to see who comes up with similar stuff. It's incredible what you can generate when you just ask. And how might we is a great creativity starter, because how is obviously has all kinds of connotations, but then might is like, oh, it doesn't have to be this, it could be that, and you're not committing to very much, so there's not a lot of pressure. And then we kind of suggest that we're doing it together, and it's no one person's responsibility to have the idea, to be the hero, and it's my idea that won. So I really like that modality a lot, and I try to use it with my clients, even when we're not doing a full-on design sprint, because it lets everybody really think deeply about really, and quietly, but at the same time you're together. So there's that sense of camaraderie and accountability and togetherness. So I really like that.
So it's the whole working alone together, which is
Mhm.
great because it's the common goal. We'll use my favorite word again. The B in the DEB method stands for brainstorm your path. So
Mhm.
I love brainstorming, and it's because my system, it's so writing and free thinking and brainstorm focused. One thing that I say a lot is, brainstorm. I don't want 5 or 10 ideas. I want 20 or 30 or 50 for the same reason what you were talking about a minute ago, Lisa. You may end up with the first thing, but if you want to really stretch your brain, you need to do the list, the laundry list, and see the different possibilities. Well, it sounds like fun, and it sounds like, I'm going to throw this to Erin. It's kind of like yes and for improv, right?
100%. I was thinking that the whole time you were saying it. Like the word openness comes to mind too, like just to remain open to the possibility of what's going to come in and drop in. And because when you're closed off, like that's not a creative, like you're just not creative. Like you got to just be open and not be, even if you feel fearful, but just step into it. But yeah, with improv, so many times people think, oh, well, I'm not funny, like to be an improv performer and improv comedy. It's like, well, it's not about being funny. It's when two people get up on stage with nothing except maybe a suggestion from the audience. It's not my idea is better than your idea. Like you said, Lisa, I'm going to throw out an idea. And when you're trained and you understand how the method works, I guess, and you're going to say, yes, I acknowledge your idea and I'm going to add to it. And the other person's like, and that you can add to it with words, with emotions, with changing the stage picture. There's a million different ways, but it's like you work together and you play true to the circumstances of the scene. And that's where hopefully the comedy comes from. But if you go in there, nothing worse than getting in an improv scene with someone who's like, it's my idea or nothing, and it's just like, they're not all about being available to the moment. It's being present and listening. And it's not about me, it's about us. And I talk about this too. It's so applicable to life. Like if you want to do better in a meeting, not all the stress is on you. Even if you're trying to close a deal, whatever that your meeting is about, focus on the other person and really listening to what their needs and wants are. And it's just a back and forth. And then who knows? It could be a masterpiece. It could also be a disaster, but at least you're open to the possibility of, something new.
It could be a disaster piece.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it would be funny. Lowry, do you have anything to add to this choo-choo train of thought?
Yeah, you know what I mean, just back to resourcefulness, I'm thinking about, what Erin does, what she, like a red bath mat, like that's resourceful. Like talk about not having $1 million budget and not having a crew and, not like, and the same with Lisa. I mean, we're talking about a pencil and a piece of paper here, right? I mean, it's the whole thing about creativity that I think is so exciting is the fact that we're creating something remarkable from nothing, right? And the thing that I notice I sort of see that if people aren't, the opposite is consuming. Like to me, the people that I see that aren't creative in their lives are people that are, spending money on, status symbols and on being on passive entertainment. They're watching TV, they're not on TV. I see that artists and creative people are really happy with a lot less. We don't tend to be, really big consumers. I mean, maybe we'll spend money on, nice instruments or something, nice tools, things like that. But even then, I got this piano for like $388. That's a $3,000 piano. It was because I just knew what I wanted, and then it's just a matter of manifesting it, right? But I think it's super healthy for the planet for us to be creative and where Lisa's saying how might we get from point A to point B without destroying the planet, or how might we just do all these things that are create. You hear it all the time that creativity will save the planet and consumption won't. So the things that we can do to sort of bring that need down, that we're really satisfied with and fulfilled, and we have meaning and all these kinds of things that you just don't get from shopping. There's just
well, actually,
not that
consuming information and entertainment and stuff like that is similar to that, Lowry. I wanted to jump in because I find that when I'm doing more of that consumption, it's in order to like avoid doing my creative work or put it off or procrastinate, or just like, if I'm busy doing something else or watching somebody else's webinar or sitting and learning things, I'm thinking, well, this is not me creating, this is me consuming. And why am I doing this? Because I really don't need another webinar about this topic, which I can teach myself if I want to.
Amen.
Yeah. So, and as far as tools are concerned and manifesting things and consuming, I have to share this. I was working with a client on Friday, and I was only, she's a small business owner, and I'm not going to mention who she is, but she's a small business owner, and she's in a networking group with me, and I didn't want to charge her too much, so I was going to charge her like $500 to sit and work with her on her business. And she hadn't paid me yet. So I asked her on Saturday, hey, do you mind if I send you an invoice for what we agreed? And she said, well, actually, I have a present for you. I want to drop it by your house. And I'm thinking, oh, great. She's probably so strapped. She really can't afford like $500. So she shows up at my place. We meet at Starbucks. She shows up at my place, brand new iPad Pro.
Wow.
Top of the line, a new pencil, a new case. I mean, my iPad is like 5 years old, so she knew that, and so this is what, and it's worth like multiple times what I was charging her, and she was like, I got so much out of our time together, and I was helping her also draw pictures like what she can use in her webinars and things. I'm just completely blown away. But you can get those without actually having to go out and buy them if you just are open to the universe providing, right?
Sweet.
So that's why I wanted to tell that story. It just happened, so I'm still like floored that she would do that. It's pretty cool.
So Lowry, what is the iPad manifestation song?
I don't know. I don't know.
I was sad, but now I'm glad because I have an iPad. It's just terrible.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, Lisa, that was fast. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. That's you can have it fast, you can have it good, or you can have it cheap. Pick any two. Right? We've all heard that one, right?
Oh no. Well, the only thing I'd do to that is maybe make the melody reflect the emotional journey, right? That's I was sad. I was sad, but now I'm glad because I got a brand new iPad.
New iPad.
Right? Yeah. So I was sad. I'm glad. You're right. You know what I mean? That stuff, right? But like what a simple little idea, right? And that came off the top of your head. And what I love is like the surprise of like lowering the bar when it comes to creativity. It's like, so often it's just like this stuff. I was listening to this woman, songwriting teacher, one of her workshops, and a woman named Andrea Stolpe, who I love the way she teaches. And she says, like when you're writing a song, like take a listen to like these songs that you think are so great, like some John Mayer song that starts and it goes, I was driving down Highway 66. It's like, it's not that brilliant, right? And you've got this, like this stuff is just everywhere. And we hold ourselves, I think, to some pretty stupid standards, some high standards sometimes. And you look at your favorite stuff, I've just seen a face. I can't forget the time and place, and some of the stuff that you hear, it's just like, that's not even acceptable. And it's a hit,
And they get a red carpet.
Yeah,
I know. So sometimes you just have to give yourself permission, instead of waiting for. That's the other thing about creativity is like no fairy godmother is going to come and tell you you're allowed to be creative now. It's up to you to decide. And those of us who were identified as having creative talents, meaning artistic kinds of talents, at an early age, we give ourselves permission to do these kinds of things. But I didn't really give myself permission. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm old, okay? And
I'm
it took me a
older
long
than
time.
you are.
I don't know. You'd be surprised.
I'm 68.
All right,
Damn.
it's true. You are older than me, not much. But anyway, but it took a long time for me to allow myself to because it seems like, well, if it's this much fun, should I be making money? Is that allowed? I mean, isn't work supposed to be hard and miserable? And now that I'm doing what I really enjoy, instead of forcing myself to do things that I thought I should do because people needed it, whatever, I find I'm making more money, getting more clients, people are more happy, and and everybody's more happy because I'm doing something that only I can really do the way I do it, instead of trying to fit myself into a box. And the last thing I wanted to say about creativity that I didn't want to forget is I think faith is a big aspect to it, because Deborah, you'll know this, you'll recognize this. I do a little bit of oil painting. I don't think I'm all that good, but I'm taking lessons from someone I know, and it's really complicated. There's a lot to know. There's a lot of, and you start and you have this whole idea of how the painting's supposed to look. And about halfway through, it just looks like a big pile of mud. It looks like a big pile of crap. And you're thinking, there's really no point to this at all. It looks horrible. But you just have to because you're allowed to build on it. It's not watercolor where whatever you got is what you got. Oil you can build up. And I have a painting right here that I like to look at. And I think, when I first started it, it really wasn't very promising. And halfway through, it was like I was going to throw it away because it was just, a mess. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But if you just keep at it, you come out the other side. Eventually, the picture reemerges and you begin to see, oh, I see what this could be. But you had to stick with it. You had to not give up. And I think that happens in the second act of a screenplay. I think that happens, partway through building a business. I think that there comes a part. It's like a marriage. Like everyone's happy honeymoons at the beginning, and you always see the happy, the happy ending at the end. But in the middle, when you're trying to work things out, it's really hard, and that's when a lot of people give up. And so the faith that it's going to be okay in the end, and that even if it isn't, you'll learn something. You'll do it better next time. Is to me. I don't know if that's creativity, but it's a big part of what allows creativity to exist.
Well, it's the hero's journey and the writer's journey.
Yeah.
Everybody has that. But I think what you're saying, and I was raised by an artist, if it could get painted, including me, it would get painted. So I was raised with that support and that creative spirit. So I totally get that. And it's also the drive to move forward. I started my original writer support group when I was doing events at Barnes & Noble, because someone came in and asked me, would you start this thing? And what I found was the creative people needed that encouragement because they weren't getting it in their lives. So this reminder, if you're creative, and we're all creative, to keep nurturing it and see what things turn into, because you don't know what you can or will create unless you are given not only the opportunity, but you give yourself the permission to do it.
If you don't do it, you're going to explode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's in your belly. It's a fire in your belly. And if you don't stoke that fire, it's still going to be there. It might get a little dim, but you might get a little bit more bitter. And, and for me, it's been like, I gave the Hollywood hustle, all my life. And then I had to decide, like, well, this other thing keeps calling me, the red carpet, and it was people hiring me to still do this thing. And when I had to get out of my own way, because I had this other vision of, because I'm with you, Lisa, on the faith thing, because I do believe if you don't create it, it's never going to happen. Like, it only comes through me. It only comes through you. Like, you're so much doing well, it sounds like, because you're following your soul, and that's just exuberant. So people are attracted to that. Plus your work is awesome, but if we don't do it now, then it's never, ever going to be in existence. And I do believe we're all blessed with certain gifts and talents, whatever those are. And you got to use them. But for me, like, personally too, it was finding that balance of, like, being willing to stay open and let go of maybe this vision that I had. And I was like, yo, dude, like, upstairs, you gave me this humor. I thought I was going to be on SNL. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. But guess what? That's still okay. Because now I'm like, finally, I'm at a different point in my life where I think that all this craziness is now merging, like, confidence coach. What? Oh, actually, it's deeper. So I'm like, I feel like this work that I'm stepping into, I'm still enjoying the journey, and I'm really, it's a new discovery. It's yet another transformation. It's an evolution, and being willing to follow that, it just feels better right now. It feels more free. So
You know, Erin, I want my own red carpet. You should like corner the market on red bath mats and just send them to all your clients. I mean, seriously, I want one like right here, right now, maybe with a gold star on it.
Yes.
You know,
and that's what I talk about, like your red carpet persona. You know, some coach I had a couple of years ago tried to get me to get rid of the name. And I'm like, okay, like I'm willing to be open to a new suggestion. And I'm like, yeah, but she was like, speak freely. I'm like, like all it's just like, so gross and stiff. And I'm like, no one's gonna walk in the room and be like, here's your red carpet. We all deserve the red carpet treatment because you're human and you made it here and you all have worth. So like freaking
I love it. It's a self-esteem. It's you're a star, you're a VIP, you know, no, I love it. My hair's standing up, and it's always a good sign. When I was in the ad business, I had some very crude remarks made to me by men I worked with, who were always asking me, how I felt about ideas and trying to gauge it by you know my bodily functions. But it's when there's a when I feels really good to me. It feels really like a really fun idea that has legs. We used to say in the business.
BYORC.
Well, as a coach and consultant, I'm actually offended that someone tried to tell you to get rid of that, because and you talk about your journeys and how you step into what you do. What I do is tell people, embrace yourself. Give yourself that me time. I talked about the B is brainstorm your path. The D is determine your mission. Find your foundation and let it grow. And creativity is such an important part of that, because if you don't explore, you're where you are, right? 100%. And I love, so we've got the red carpet treatment. You've got Lisa ready to do your marketing, and Lowry can write the theme song and stardom awaits.
And everybody can, Lowry, this is for you. Everybody can draw like a person, and it could be like if you draw. Wait, hang on a second. You draw a keyhole. You got like an old timey keyhole. I don't know if it's not showing on here, is it? It's not. No. It's taking. It's too. There it goes. It's there's a big delay. There's a big delay. It doesn't want to do it. All right, it's catching up. So you have an old timey keyhole, and then you just you close it up, and it's taking a really long time to catch up here. But then you just add some some hands and some feet, legs and feet, and you end up with a pretty okay person. I'm really sorry this is taking so long. It's obviously there's a humongous delay. Oh, there we go. There's hands. This is what I try to tell people when I teach them how to draw. I have a course that not a course, but like a workshop that I do. That's basically, showing people who think they can't draw that actually they can. And I always say to them, it's really not about art. It's about like articulating an idea. And then you can always, like add other elements to this person. Since we were talking about cooking, I'm gonna add a few things to this person that'll show up in a second. But it's not about like what you said before, Erin. It's not about being the star in an improv show. It's about like dancing with the elements and stuff like that. And for me, especially when people are brainstorming and stuff, it's not about creating something like Da Vinci. It's about creating something that other people can understand and say, oh, I can see that's a story about cooking, or that's a story about whatever. So and after people sit with me for like either an hour or 3 hours or a couple of days, if it's a group, it's like they come out able to do all kinds of expressions and people and icons but especially things like ideas, like metaphors, and like icebergs and roads and things. So many things, like just like you said, Lowry, like so many songs have a similar they're not that complicated. So are a lot of ideas that anyone can draw. An iceberg is just a blob with a wavy line like water on it, but it says so many things, because what you see on top is like that's what you see, and all this under the water is what you don't see, like why is this thing happening, and all that kind of stuff. Is really opens up a conversation, and anybody can draw that picture. but most people won't because they think, oh, well, I'm not an artist, So
You
that's
could
one of the
market
things I
it
really want to.
for people that really want
What?
to get better at Pictionary.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not allowed. I've been banned from Pictionary with all my friends. I'm not allowed to play. I'm not allowed to play. I can be the scorekeeper.
I want you on my team.
Everybody wants me on their team. That's the problem. I need to do Pictionary with cartoonists, and then it would be fair. It's kind of like
This is a perfect time. And then in a minute, I'm going to ask you all to gift goals to the audience. But what I would love for you all to do first is to tell people where they can find you. Because Lisa, I know you've got this great thing on your site, which is like a cheat sheet to doodling.
Yeah. If you now my site at this moment today that we're recording, this is kind of in the middle of being under construction. So hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, find me on LinkedIn at lisarothstein.com/profile. But if you go to drawingoutyourgenius.com, and there should be a link at the top that says Doodle Dictionary, you can download a few pages worth of, like I was telling you about, these icons that are really easy to draw out of circles or squares or triangles, and you'd be amazed what you can make. And so it's drawingoutyourgenius.com. And like if you have if you make a circle, you can make a million different things. But even from each of those things, like I make I won't do it now because it's of the delay, but I make a world like the globe. Just you take a circle and a couple of little squiggles on it. It doesn't have to be geographically correct at all. But then you put words next to it, depending on what you want that symbol to mean. So you imagine a picture of the globe, and you put the word peace next to it, or you put the word climate, or you put the word travel. It means completely different things. It opens up a completely different conversation, but it's still because you have the doodle or the icon. It focuses people's attention, and it gets people involved and engaged with the conversation much more than if you're just talking about it. So that's what you'll get if you download the Doodle Dictionary.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, I was playing. I wasn't doodling, but I was very intrigued, especially as someone who is the opposite of talented in drawing. So I'm going to play. I will.
Everyone says that. It's not. It's irrelevant. It's not true anyway.
Actually, it is true, because remember I was saying that I used to do events at Barnes & Noble. I remember, it was around St. Patrick's Day, so this must be why I was thinking about it. We're recording this mid-March. Is we were doing like a rainbow party, and I drew a poster, and someone said it was great that you got a kid to draw the poster. It was me.
That shows that you're unspoiled and childlike. It's wonderful, innocent.
Well, awesome. Go yay me.
Yeah.
Lowry, where can people find you?
Well, my own songs and my music and my albums and all that stuff are at LowryOlafson.com. But PowerSongs.ca is the place where, if people are interested in knowing more about how they could create a power song for themselves, or couples or families, or team building, all those different things that we use, creating an audio brand for your business, all that kind of stuff. PowerSongs.ca.
Excellent. And Erin, where can people find you?
You can find me at hotredcarpet.com, and on all social media, it's at hotredcarpet. And if you do go to my website, there is a little freebie, and you get these little red carpet cards that give you 5 tips to being red carpet confident. They're silly and fun. And and you'll be on my email list, and I do not bombard people. I don't. I wish I did. I don't. I should.
Yeah, me either. You may never hear from me again.
Yeah. Not to go off on a whole other tangent, but a big part of creativity, I feel the word collaboration hasn't really come up, but I feel like it's such at the heart of it, especially with this crew, because it's like you really do. I work best collaborating with people, even if you're solo. It's like you're still creating something, but then you also want the audience too. So it's collaboration is also a huge part.
Yeah, I love
it. And that's why I enjoy these conversations so much, because I get to bring, now occasionally the people on my show do know each other, but this is more likely it's people who don't know each other, who I think would make a great conversation. And that's why I love this format, because you don't know what great things will come out of all of this. I should mention, if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you can get the recap for this and all my previous shows. And also, if you want to learn more about how I can help you figure out what you want and how to get it, you can go to thedebmethod.com/goals. Or if you just want to go through the process on your own, grab a copy of your goal guide on Amazon or your favorite place to buy books. I am at the Deb Method everywhere, offering goal setting inspiration all the time. And it starts with that creativity, seeing where you can go on the path of the life you want, which brings me to goals. And I would love to ask my guests to gift a goal to the audience to help them to tap into their creativity. And Lowry, would you like to start?
Sure, and this is something that I've started doing myself now. I've actually scheduled songwriting practice time, and it's not practice; it's playtime. It's really judgment free. I allow myself to go in, and I do it at 3:00 in the afternoon, just for an hour. And anything counts, whether I'm noodling on guitar at the beach or I'm playing, just coming up with ideas, or it can be, I was just in Mexico and I was trying to write a song called Taking One for the Team, talking about people in Toronto at 30 below, and I was just taking one for the team at 30 above. That's Fahrenheit. At centigrade, you guys wouldn't get that. But anyway, but just that playfulness, allowing that. And I just wanted to say one more thing, and because Lisa and I were talking about getting old, and what I see is that creativity is something that we take with us forever. You look at the work Leonard Cohen was doing in his 80s, and he kind of forced back to it by maybe economics, but this idea that our creativity is something that I think I see in people that are healthy and vital and alive and really have a lot of meaning and joy in their lives. It's a really great thing to keep going, and to have that playfulness and not sort of be heavy about it, but set aside time and say, this is my time for being playful.
I really like that you added that. I'm all about scheduling appointments for everything. So great goal to schedule playtime, but the reminder to be playful while you're doing it, even more important. So thank you for that one, Lowry. Lisa, what is your goal?
A goal for your viewers?
Yes. What goal would you like to gift people today?
Okay, well, this is actually kind of more of an exercise, like what you sometimes have it as an icebreaker in a meeting, but you might really enjoy it. Just to get yourself, especially if you feel like Deb that you're unable to draw things. It's an exercise called 30 circles, and what I'd love for you to do is take a piece of paper, any piece of paper or your iPad, and draw 30 circles. They don't all have to be exactly perfect or the same, and then set a timer, or say like 5 minutes, and see how many different things you can make out of each of those circles. I'll get you started. It could be a wheel or different kinds of balls or a balloon. Your extra points if you use 2 circles together, like maybe be like a motorcycle. I don't know, but what can you do with the 30 circles, and challenge yourself to fill all of them in with something, and you'll be surprised how many things you can think of, but also how readable they, because I think of drawing as language, how readable all of them really are, and that's all you really need. Again, it doesn't have to be a something that Escher would draw. It's just something that you would be able to understand, that someone else would be able to say, that's a baseball, that's a wheel, that's a balloon, that's a lifesaver. So anyway, give it a try and you'll be surprised.
And then you could do it with squares, and then you could do it with triangles. I see where you're going with this.
You could, but circles is probably the easiest one, because there are so many different things that everyone knows about that come right to mind when it's a circle. So
okay,
big and
start with
small.
Circles.
Yeah,
all sizes. Fantastic. Erin, what goal would you like to gift?
before, I really can't wait to do the circle thing, by the way.
Mm.
And I think with what you both just shared too about your exercise, Lisa and Lowry, saying like when you're older, like you never, the creativity doesn't stop. And I feel like it's true. If it does stop, then you stop. Like, look, Norman Lear, I think, just turned 99 years old, and the man is like, he is sharp as a tack, and he's still producing television right now today.
Wow.
And like that, it just keeps your brain going. It keeps your mental capacity. Like my grandmother, she lived till she was like 93 and a half, and she lost her vision, but she did the jumble every day, like in the daily news. And we'd be like with our vision trying to, and she'd be like, Rosebud next. Like she just could. Important to it keeps the mental muscles going. So my goal, first off, I would and welcome everybody to be cognizant this week of what the red carpet moments of your life are, because I believe every day we have little red carpet moments. And to me, that means a moment of celebration, as if, you showed up fully, maybe you stood a little taller, you smiled, it brought joy to you. You celebrated some sort of accomplishment. It could be a beautiful meal you make. It could be a song you write. It could be a cartoon. It could be that you got your butt out of bed. So that would be a simple goal that you can, before you go to sleep at night, think of a red carpet moment that you had,
or what I would call gold star moments.
Yeah.
The moments of celebration. Okay, so the goal is to look for those moments to celebrate.
Yeah, and
Nice.
acknowledge yourself. I think that acknowledgement, it goes such a long way, and we're so prone to acknowledge other people, which is a beautiful thing, but to give it back to ourselves is huge. I try to start my day in gratitude and end it in acknowledgement, and it builds a field of receptivity that just gives more creativity, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we need to celebrate everything, because if we don't do it, who else will, right? Celebrating, creating, being playful. It starts with us, and then we see where it can go. Well, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Erin Brown, Lisa Rothstein, and Lowry Olafson, thank you so much for joining me to talk about creativity. So much fun. I would love one final thought from each of you. What words do you want lingering? Lisa?
I thought we'd done the big wrap up, and I'm like, oh my God, pressure. Just, it's kind of a just do it moment. I spent a long time avoiding and not giving myself permission to do what I really wanted to do, and as far as we know, we only get to do this once. So don't wait, because also you never know. We spoke before when we came on the call about someone I knew, wonderful creative woman, musician, who had a car accident right after I worked with her, and and she's gone. She didn't know that was going to happen. So just don't think it's going to happen someday. Get started now. The worst that can happen is it won't turn out exactly like you planned. So what?
Yeah.
That's more than one word.
And what about you, Lowry?
I'll build on Lisa's and say yes. Say yes. Listen to your heart. Listen to your longings, and say yes.
I approve that thought, definitely, because when you say yes to yourself, you're gifting yourself the life that you deserve. So excellent. And Erin?
My word is laugh. Don't take it all so seriously. Just laugh every single day.
What a great note to leave this on. Thank you all again so much for joining me to talk about creativity. Those of you, whether you are watching live or the replay or listening, thank you for choosing yourself, choosing creativity, and choosing to spend time with us today. I'm Deborah Eckerling, and join me next week for another wonderful conversation. Meanwhile, go out there, go for it, because we all know whatever it is you want to do, you can do it.